Dell, Taylor, I believe I will call today's episode the one where we review the lives of 6 of the most selfish and narcissistic people to ever make it onto the small screen. Today's pilot
we're doing
pass,
Seinfeld?
Friends.
Oh, okay. Boy, I fell for that one. And isn't it great that we're doing a show called Friends, and here we are, 3 people that have just met? That's ironic.
We will be testing our friendships today. Am I right?
Is that what shipping is? Okay.
Yes. Hello, everybody. My name is Matthew Pizana. I am co-host of Pilot Pass, the podcast that you are listening to right now. Alongside of me, in a different state, in a different room, is my co-host, Dell. Are you my friend if you've never let me move into your fancy New York apartment? Pullen.
I let you move into my Dallas apartment.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's good enough. Yes. Once we shared a pizza.
Did we? I think you ate most of it.
I think I did, but I said shared. I didn't say it was equal.
Sharing is a loose term.
You ate the pizza bones.
That's true. Oh, I do love
because you would always get mad at me for eating not eating the crust. I'm like, it's just extra carbs. I can do that.
Blasphemy. We also
there's no marrow in it.
Have a third member of the crew today alongside of us, as she has been before, and hopefully will be in the future. We have Taylor Elizabeth. Yay!
Hello.
Thank you for being on the show again.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, of working with us priorly fame.
Yeah, it might be a little different today because I think as I introduce the show, this might be an antagonistic show today. So
I think we're all going to have different opinions on this. I'm excited because I think there's going to be 3 different takes on this.
I agree with you completely. Let's start off the top then. Let's see how everybody got introduced to Friends, the show. And I would like to start with Taylor today. How did you first get introduced?
Oh, man, it was probably just, through my mom watching it. When I was little. Wasn't it on the Thursday night lineup on NBC?
You are correct. Starting in 1994, you would have been how old then?
5.
5 years old.
You were so young.
I'm a baby.
And I'm broken now. Okay. All right. I'm fixed. All right. So that's your experience. Nell, I believe that you have a very specific not watching of Friends, if I'm correct.
Well, I've definitely seen a couple of episodes over the year. I'd say all told, I've probably seen 10 episodes, like in and out. Like I don't think I've ever sat down and watched one before, unless maybe somebody else was. I was doing something else. I came to know the show through the theme song, which people would clap at school and other places. And then I would hear it on TV and I'd be like, oh, it's that show with that theme song. And then I learned it was called Friends, and I recognized some of the people in it from a few other like little things, but not a ton. I think I recognized like not Luke Perry, his brother Matthew Perry. Mm-hmm. And I think I remember David Schwimmer. I knew him. He had done a few other things, but nobody else I really knew about.
I remember September of 94. I was just off of my summer in West Texas where I had to work at my grandparents' funeral home. It was a nightmare. I watched a lot of Singled Out that year, but the last show I started to watch was Friends. I was a first day, first episode, first show kind of guy. I am not proud about that fact now. So
yeah, all I knew for the longest time was there were 2 apartments and the girls lived in one and the guys, I thought all 3 of the guys lived in the other and all 3 of the girls lived in one. And then of course the joke, how did they afford, an apartment like that in New York? That turns out is explained in the show, not this episode. And yeah, so there were some assumptions that I had made, like all of the boys and girls were each in a different apartment, that were not true. I didn't know that there were 2 of these people were related. I knew that there's marriages all throughout, and apparently even in the pilot, it starts out with a divorce, a skipped marriage, and then later doesn't it end with a marriage? So yeah, spoiler alert for a 20-year-old show that wrapped
we're
up.
Supposed to be spoiling because we are talking about the pilot episode today. Now, what is the actual pilot episode called for Friends?
Well, originally it was just known as Pilot on the Air, but afterwards it has since been renamed the one where Monica gets a roommate. And that's one of the recurring things I think we should say about the show is it is known, and even this is something that I knew about it, is that every single episode, and this is one of the cute things I do like about the show, is every episode is titled The One Where, and then says something, and they always pick some plot point that most people remember. And I like that because that is how a lot of people talk about episodes of television shows. Oh, it was the one where Brian and Stewie invented the time machine for the first time. No, it was the one where Homer gets the crayon stuck up his nose. You know, the one where Homer jumps the Grand Canyon.
Old man touched the boy on that one special episode.
That's right. It's the bicycle shop. Everybody knows that one. Yeah, I mean, so it was kind of funny that they went ahead and just kind of rolled into it. Another show that tried to do that only did like 4 episodes was Family Guy. I don't know if y'all ever remember, but the first 4 episodes of Family Guy all contained the one named Death. And they wanted to have everyone be a murder mystery title that had death and like, here comes the death. Nightly stalks the death, the death shadows or something like that. And they only got 4 episodes and they were like, forget this. Yeah. We're never going to keep this up. But Friends did all the way through. I think the last episode was like the one with the wedding or something like that.
That I don't know. You've got me on that one. Let's tell the people if they don't know what this show is actually about. Since you have notes today, Taylor, you got to join us in the notes game. Will you tell us what the show Friends is all about?
A set of 6 friends, 3 guys and 3 girls that live in New York City.
I get it now.
Right? It's clever. So they all live in New York City, and they just aren't very good people. They're in their early 20s, going through life.
Let's stay on one thing that you just said, and I want to deep dive into this fact that these people are not good people.
They're not.
The narcissism in this, I think, also reflects America in the mid-90s as well.
I was going to say, very much Seinfeld was doing that at the same time, and even like the Larry Sanders Show on HBO was picking up on that. Like a lot of people were, just like very selfish in the 90s. I guess that was a big part of it. We all had our Cool as Ice movie that we were watching,
right? And
maybe we were just picking up on that after the 80s, with all the cocaine fueled partying. Everybody was needing a little time to relax to themselves.
I mean, am I crazy, or is it the most offensive thing in the world the same day that a woman walks out of her wedding to ask her out for somebody that's been in love with her forever? That seems so crazy to me. I can't.
Well, let's point out this real fast. Let's go through the characters just so that everybody kind of knows them. So I think most people know, but so the 3 girls that I assumed live in one apartment, but let's first establish the 2 apartments. There's what I call the main one, which is the girls' apartment with the giant window in the background. The one that if you're watching on YouTube or whatever, it's that Matt is pointing at behind him. That's the girls' apartment for most of the show. I believe they switch at one point because they lose a bet or something like that.
They do.
But that is the main one.
I've never watched this.
I know you know a whole lot.
I know a lot of the trivia about the show because I when I read factoids, that's where I pick it up.
Sure. And so I think Dill is a secret friend.
I think he is. I think we're learning things
friend
already.
Of the friends. I was interested to notice that they only showed the girls' apartment in the first episode, and Ross's apartment, which from my understanding of the show, they don't show. It's only the 2 boys and girls apartments. I didn't even know they ever showed Ross's. So I thought that was really weird for the pilot.
Okay. So let's actually talk about that. So when they showed, it was Ross's apartment, but it becomes the boys' apartment eventually. And then Ross has his own fancy apartment.
Oh, so that is the apartment across the hallway.
Yeah. Yep.
Right, okay.
Taylor?
See, I didn't.
Or am I making that up?
No, I think that's always been Joey and Chandler's apartment.
Yeah, because Chandler is the one that lives there and pays rent, and Joey is his roommate, right?
Yeah.
Just like an actor.
Yeah. I think they did and we'll get back to the people in a minute, but somebody I read somewhere, another factoid, is that over the years, somebody added up how much money Chandler has given to Joey throughout the years, and it's over $100,000. Like with free rent and food and stuff like that. So over the 10-year course of the show, he's given him $10,000 a year, roughly. So let's see. So first we have Jennifer Aniston as Rachel. They have last names, but that's stupid. Nobody knows them, but it's Green. Courtney Cox is Monica Geller, and Lisa Kudrow is Phoebe Buffay or Buffy. I don't know how that is. Anyway, Buffay. Mm-hmm. So Monica is the one that originally owns this purple apartment with the giant window in the back, what I'm going to call the main apartment. And Rachel is a friend of hers who is has a rich family. And she came to New York apparently to get married, but ran out on the wedding. She's a runaway bride. And Lisa Kudrow is a friend of theirs who is a hippy dippy musician, aromatherapist. who has
Weirdo.
my favorite part of the show was her background story, which was
When she came to New York
my mother,
at 14.
yeah, she goes to New York 14 because her mother killed herself. Her dad went to prison. And when she got there, she met a guy at the Port Authority who also introduced her to the city and then committed suicide. But then she got into aromatherapy and everything's been great. So that was a great backstory there. So Jennifer Aniston, by the end of the episode, decides to move in with, just tells her father, I'm going to move in with Monica without Monica's approval. And is having trouble deciding whether she's going to cut herself off from her dad's money or not. Phoebe is the one that doesn't live there, although she's there all the time. And this is the part I never got. I thought they were all three roommates. Now, across the hallway, I guess not established in this pilot episode, is Matthew Perry as Chandler Bing, who rents the apartment across from Monica. That's how they know each other. Matt LeBlanc is Joey Tribbiani, who is Chandler's roommate. And then their friend, David Schwimmer, as Ross Geller, who is brothers with Monica Geller. So I'm assuming that either Chandler lived there first, and I'm deciding I'm going to make this canon. Chandler lived there first. Ross came over. Then when an apartment opened up, Monica was eating a place. I'm establishing that now that Chandler lived there first. And I'm assuming because his friend was had a sister, he got her to move in. Now, they could easily be reversed, but I'm sticking to my guns here.
Yeah, since you're not the most expert on Friends, apparently, except really random trivia, I'm not sure if we'll go with you on that. But it was a good effort regardless. Taylor,
so do we know who lived there first?
Okay,
we'll just wondering.
The girls' apartment was Monica's aunt's apartment. And that's how
right, it's rent controlled.
It was rent controlled. Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
Yep.
So again, Chandler must have moved in while the aunt lived there before she passed away. I'm sticking to it.
I don't know. I would assume that maybe he moved in after because he was friends with Ross and his sister lived across the way. So
you make a lot of assumptions. He was very friendly with her aunt. Used to go over there all the time, help her assemble furniture.
We've tossed around the word friends a lot, but I think that one of the things in this pilot episode that was spoken out loud by Monica is that Jennifer Aniston's character, she's friends with her, except for the fact that she didn't invite her to her wedding. So I guess they
haven't been friends since like high school. Right. They haven't been friends since like high school. So this is again, most pilots usually introduce one new character into an already existing situation. And for us, for this episode, that would be Rachel being introduced to this group that's already hanging out in New York at this, very famously, a coffee shop named Central Perk. In fact, the show that even opens at this coffee shop. And so besides the main apartment and the boys' apartment, most of the show takes place at this coffee shop called Central Perk, which the only other thing I know about that is there's a guy named Gunther who works there. And he's famously in the show for being the only person who knew how to run the cappuccino machine on the crew. So he got an acting job. That's where his acting credentials came from. Is there like, can anybody run the cappuccino? He could. He'd been a barista before. They put him in the background. Eventually they gave him speaking parts. So that's how to get into Hollywood, folks.
That's living the dream.
Work at Starbucks. I'm telling you, a lot of people don't agree with this, but you might want to work at Starbucks first and then go straight into acting.
Yeah, Gunther is also the only reason Rachel keeps that job is because he is in love with her and she is a terrible waitress. But he is in love with her.
So I didn't see it in the first episode, but another trivia point I heard was if you ever wondered how they always get that, there's a central couch located in the middle that they all sit around and some chairs. It's the main table in Central Park. And there's coffee tables around surrounding the rest of the set. But apparently in a lot of the episodes, they're very small and knocked off as a small sign that says reserved. So I didn't see it in the pilot when I looked, but I looked through other episodes and pictures online, and sure enough, there is a reserve sign on the table. So they didn't always. So I guess the show gives you the conceit of, look, we're just not going to show you when they sit other places. You miss out on that part of their lives. We've got one camera set up. It's only when they reserve the table that you get to see what's going on.
I believe there is an episode though where they get there and the couch is taken.
That's right. That I do. I've seen that one, and I do remember that it was a big deal because. Well, that was a funny bit that, like, if you're going to have a place where everybody goes, to have that taken. I think Seinfeld even did one like that too, where their two booths are taken. So
let's get into
again, they're both in New York. I'm assuming all these people interacted, Seinfeld and Friends.
Oh, I'm sure they did. Let's get into the nuts and bolts of the pilot episode, if we can. Taylor, I'm going to throw it to you first, and I'm kind of curious. Did you have a favorite part to this first episode?
Man, so I don't know if I really had a favorite part. a lot of lines stood out to me that I remember being super quotable, and I'm like, holy shit, those were the first episode. Welcome to the real world. It sucks. You're gonna love it. When Joey sees Ross and he goes, the guy says hello, and I want to kill myself. There's just the little lines, the quick one-liners that stood out. I mean, the show's 20-something years old, and everybody quotes the "Welcome to the real world. It sucks. You're gonna love it."
I love
I
that.
remember my favorite line besides Phoebe's introduction of when she came in was Chandler, who's apparently a statistical analyst who until this moment, and I looked that up, I literally had no idea what he did. I knew Ross was a paleontologist, knew Joby was a wannabe actor, but I literally had no idea what Matthew Perry, his character, did. The statistical analyst.
Oh, that's one of the running jokes throughout the series is they're like, what does he do?
Oh, okay. Well, I do remember his line in this pilot was, he's like, man, I got to get up and get to work because if somebody doesn't put those numbers into the computer, it won't make much of a difference. I like that line.
I tell you, Joey's look for this, I forget how young sometimes when we see these old pilots, you see somebody that you've been used to being an adult for many, many years. He looks like such a baby in that long hair and the face and the jacket. I was just fascinated by just staring at him because of all the decades of time that we've spent with Matt LeBlanc over the years. He was adorable.
Can I tell you how 90s it was, though, that one outfit that he has, that it's like the sleeveless vest?
Yep.
Oh, we're going to talk outfits in a bit because every single one of them were amazing.
Monica wears like a satchel over herself at one point. What was that?
Yeah.
It was like a cute little dress that almost, it's like the little bib front. I don't know. I would wear anything they were wearing right then. 90s stuff has returned, and it's
Schwimmer had on the only normal looking outfit, which was just a shirt and pants, kind of.
That's because
everybody else,
boring.
Yes, but I think was it Monica or was wearing somebody was wearing was it overalls at one point or something like that? I seem to remember.
Yeah, that was Monica's little outfit.
Okay,
it was like a weird. It was almost like a weird overall crop thing that I totally kind of want to go try and find at the store today. So
it was.
Yeah, they were all very
special.
90s outfits. Yeah.
Dale, we've talked a lot about ensemble pieces and TV shows before, and I'm kind of curious. For me, these characters struck me as 6 very individualistic people who don't really mesh together in this pilot. Whereas we look at something like Night Court, and I felt like they all were unique in their own way, but they fit together. Did you see it that way, or did you think they all kind of worked well?
Well, I think I did. And I think one of that is because this is supposedly a group of friends who don't share common interests other than they happen to either be related, live near each other, or know people that are related to the other people they know or live near each other. So they're kind of varied in the fact of all their interests, where something like a workplace comedy, like even The Office, Parks and Rec, Night Court, what they all do is they all have a common interest, at least in that law. And they spend 8 hours a day together doing the same kind of, if not exact thing, they're in the same environment. And the Office famously, in their final episode kind of said, you don't get to pick who you work with, but you end up spending a third of your day or more with them.
For sure.
And so it really does, unlike friendships, you kind of all go through the blood of war together in the sense that when the business is crunching or when the sales department is slacking off or not bringing in sales, or, the accounting department has, funds, don't have funds, everybody kind of suffers together. It's almost like a family. Where this in Friends, they're really not like a family. They are more like a diverse group of individuals who choose to hang out together just through their relationships. So it's not a family that's bound together through hardships. It's a group of people that are really choosing to be together. And that is a much different dynamic, much more like Seinfeld, where they each go off and do their own things. And we only see the story when they come back in to tell the stories to each other of what happened. We don't see them going through it together. I think Chandler at one point works for Joey as like an assistant. And that's one of the few times, you see the story play out as 2 people going through something together. And that would definitely be the difference, that it's not a workplace comedy. It's not a family comedy. It is a group of friends comedy. And just like I said, with Seinfeld, I'm trying to think of another show that is more friends. Because most situations,
New Girl, yes. By the way, we need to do that show. I love it.
But most situation comedies are called that for a reason. The situation is they're at work together. The situation is they're at a taxi company. The situation is they all fight vampires, or they're all vampire roommates, like in What We Do in the Shadows, which is fantastic too.
What was the
But
theme in Walker?
those are also a little bit of Friends. Walker, which one? The new one or the old one?
The new one.
New one. The theme of Walker was don't put any effort in. We're going to coast on what somebody else did.
Okay, fair enough.
And we already got a second season.
So, Taylor, we talked already a little bit about these characters being narcissistic. Let's dive into that a little bit more. Did you have a favorite narcissistic moment that we encountered in this pilot episode?
Can we talk about Ross asking Rachel out the day after?
Yeah, that's
the day of her leaving her wedding. What the fuck?
As a female, like, I'm sure that you have stupid, ridiculous male interactions like this all the times, but this one just seems to take the cake for me.
It was so cringy and just inappropriate, and like the reaction on Rachel's face isn't even of like a oh yeah, sure. Like it's like a genuinely she's excited about the prospect of it, which is just weird. Like no.
Especially the preceding conversation, which was Ross goes, I don't know if you remember me, but we went to school together, and she's like, yeah, I remember you. She's like, oh well, you probably just thought of me as Monica's nerdy older brother. And she's like, yeah. That's how I remember you. Yeah. And then he asks her out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He's like, I don't know if you know this, I had a crush on you. She's like, I know. And he's like, I was Monica's nerdy older brother. I know. And so somehow that makes her excited to now date this guy. Who again, let's also show this. She's run away from her marriage this particular day. Ross, this particular day, his wife has moved everything out of the house because she realized she was a lesbian, has moved in with her new girlfriend, or at least moved out of his house. And if I remember right, she got the good TV, all the furniture, and the apartment. Yeah. So there's two people who were just out of either terrible relationships or relationships that clearly weren't working for them. And the very first thing they do is agree to go on a date. Now, if they had said, and I hate to be crass about this, but they've been like, do you want to bang? That would have been like, well, there's nothing here. We just got out of relationships. We kind of need something to alleviate tension. And, I know you.
To be fair.
That would be a little more, I don't know. That just seems a little more realistic than would it be okay? And he doesn't even ask her out. He says, would it be okay if I asked you out sometime?
To be fair, they didn't agree to actually go on a date.
To me, that's weirder than just.
He asked her out sometime.
Yeah, to me, that's weirder than being like, hey, you want to just have some non-committal sex here? Like that just seems so much more less. That seems so much less appropriate.
He was grabbing a spoon.
Yeah.
The conversation that the boys have as well is pretty ridiculous. The going out there,
women as ice cream, getting back in there. So, which to be fair, like the best way to get over someone is to get under someone else. But
that came from the ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and I met my husband on a blind date the day I got dumped by somebody else. So crazier things have happened.
I met my wife by being asked out by a paleontologist I knew in high school.
That was me. Oh, that was me.
That's right. So can we talk about for just a second, one of the intros to the show was Chandler's dream, where he dreams that a telephone is ringing and he looks down and his junk, his dripping hog, as they say in the Detroiters, is a telephone, and it starts ringing. So he picks it up and it's his mom calling him on his penis phone. And he says, and that was very weird because my mom doesn't usually call me. And that was a good line too. Chandler, I think Chandler always had some of the best lines. Of course, he's the snarky one. There's some guy named Paul. Is that in the first? That's the first episode,
Paul
right?
The wine guy?
Paul the wine guy. And everybody goes, nice to meet you, Paul. Nice to meet you, Paul. Nice to meet you, Paul. And then he gets Chandler. He's like, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Was it Paul? So you could tell he was kind of like the original breakout sassy character. And everybody else.
Always my favorite.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people he was. But then I know for the girls, the Rachel was a haircut. Was that the thing?
I had that haircut. I tried to find a photo of it, and it just looks so terrible. I cannot show it to you guys. But yes, I had that haircut.
I tried to have that haircut. It didn't work out for me.
No, I 100% rocked the Rachel. So
And at least
We'll
60%
do a digital
of
composite.
American women did too.
Yeah, we'll put that. I'll put a Photoshop together version of that. Where I'll literally just slide your
Just my
face into.
Just as
Or
long
I'll
as
do
you
the
do it for us too.
Instagram
It was
face swap.
It was the one where it was shorter and a little choppier. So it was the more like the mid 2000s.
Well, maybe this will be the thumbnail for the YouTube picture. Is all three of us with the Rachel.
Excellent. I love that idea. You know, the Paul guy is kind of, I feel like that they do that a lot. They bring in characters with one name to date everybody. My favorite, of course, is going to be Drunk Bobby. I mean, that was like just a couple episodes into the series, but that was the episode where he's drunk, but then he gets sober and he's no fun anymore. Oh, Fun Bobby. I'm sorry. It's Fun Bobby was the character's name. And I like how they kind of did that throughout. They'd be like, this one character has this one character trait and they're here for an episode and then they're gone.
Was he was fun when he was drunk, but then he got sober?
And he was
they've done that anymore. In Always Sunny, where they have Psycho Pete, who goes to the mental institution and gets healed. And let's say Always Sunny now running at least 5 seasons longer than Friends. Just an applause for Always Sunny. So good. But then they also have, what was the other show? There's plenty of shows like that where they have, somebody gets better and they're not fun. Oh, the League, they have a guy, Will Forte doesn't drink anymore. Blue balls, I think, as they call him. And so they get him to drink again. But one of my favorite shows that used to do that idea of where they give a character one trait was a show called Father Ted, if you ever saw it. It's a Scottish-made film by Graham Lyman. It's the same guy that made The IT Crowd. And it's about these priests living on Craigie Island, this little tiny island, in Ireland, off the coast of Ireland. And they haven't been defrocked, but they're all there for doing something wrong, like stealing from the church or being a drunk or being an idiot in case of Dougal. But what's funny is they always have, every episode or two, they have a preacher visit. And Lyman said the way they would write that is they would be like, this guy laughs. And that was the only thing they would give to the actor. And they were like, here's your lines. All your thing is you laughed. And they would have the angry priest, the laughing priest, the priest who can't pronounce words. And they always just had one identifiable trait. And that's all they gave. That's all they gave to the person. We should do Father Ted sometime, because that was one of the only funny Hitler jokes I ever saw, where somebody has a little mustache gives a Heil to an Asian group. Nice. And I was like, now that's just, that's good writing right there.
Did anybody get thirsty when they saw the mellow yellows on the table?
No. I forgot that was a thing. Did y'all notice that on a kind of local point, Mountain Dew is no longer called Mountain Dew? Mountain Dew? Yeah, it's Mountain Dew now. It's just MTN, which isn't short for mountain. That's short for Mount. So it's technically Mount Dew now, but it's just MTN, Dew.
The kids that don't have time for Mountain.
Has it? What's the point? It's going to cost you the same to print the label, whether you shorten the word or longer. It's like animating a show. You put them on the moon.
No, it's do.
Yeah, they put some exclamation marks on there. That's all.
I don't know. I'll ask one of my marketing friends.
Yeah, let's make some phone calls. We need some answers on this. Before we get to the end of the episode here, I just want to make sure that everybody has a chance to talk about whatever is memorable from this, whatever they think about Friends after this, that kind of stuff. I'm going to let Taylor think about that for a minute. Del, after you've watched this episode, did you have something about the show that you go, oh, now I see why it works?
No. And well, here's why for me is this literally just felt like a larger ensemble cast of Seinfeld that wasn't as edgy or daring. And I could see how that would also be appeal to a lot more people who, I love Jewish comedy. And so that really appeals to me. And this was definitely more Americanized. Obviously, even though they're both set in New York, and there's 2 extra more people in the larger group instead of 4. And everybody's toned down a little bit too. Jerry's the only kind of normal one in the show. In Seinfeld, George and Kramer are definitely out there. Elaine's a little more normal. But in this, everybody's pretty normal with a few eccentricities. And so it seemed like a very tamed, non-Jewish version of Seinfeld to me, having watched every episode of Seinfeld and maybe only 10 episodes of this. And so when I watch it, I just feel like it could have done more. It could have been edgier, but then also that may have cost them a large share of their audience. I mean, Seinfeld had the biggest, finale of all time, but I believe Friends is probably maybe not more well known, but more accepted for a younger audience. And so therefore a wider audience, maybe an older audience too.
Taylor, this is the first time you got to do a regular episode. We did Double Dare with you last time. So I want to ask you, like I ask Dell every week, what did you
Matt,
think
Double
about the
Dare.
show? Double Dare, excuse me. Sorry. What did you think
But Double
about the show
Dare.
as a pilot? Did you enjoy it? Do you like to watch stuff like this and explore how a show started, or were you indifferent to it?
I do. So my husband and I have watched a lot of pilots of different shows, just and like gone back. Like the Battlestar Galactica one stands out a whole bunch. Firefly was a really good, strong first episode.
Yep.
Well, you know, they've
This
switched those
one-
two, by the way. The
Mhm.
one they aired was actually the second episode, which was, I
was.
argue, the strongest episode. Yeah.
But yeah, no, had I seen this, somebody's like, hey, come watch the, it's the first show. Had they tested this, I would not have watched it again. Like, yeah, it seems cute, but it was so superficial, so shallow.
I don't think this would have worked in the late 2000s to now. I don't think if you brought this exact premise that it would be interesting. There's so many other shows that have tackled this exact thing, like we said, Always Sunny, or even but they go way further with it and take it a lot further. And it's just so much more, if you're going to have bad people in a group that don't really kind of care about each other, but then they kind of do, it's been done way better since. Now,
and that's the
we
thing
also
that
know,
I think kind of sucks, is that they're not supposed to be bad people. It's just the way they've
Exactly.
written them to have these situations. They just kind of turn out shitty. But yeah, no, it just, as a first episode, I think the only thing that it had going for it is that it only is 22 minutes runtime. So you can say, oh, it was okay. Like, let's watch it again next week. So I'm sure it was shoehorned in between something. If this is what was on right before ER, I could see a lot of people just, we'll put this on while we eat and then we watch ER. And then they just kind of,
Yeah, I couldn't binge watch this.
fall in love with it.
Yeah, I couldn't binge watch this even if I wanted to. Like right now, I'm binging The Simpsons in reverse, which is fun. First of all, a great way to watch The Simpsons. It's been really fantastic. I'm down to season 11 now, but I've watched Parks and Rec, The Office, Always Sunny binged before. I've probably seen them all like 7 or 8 times now, all the way through. I like the fact that a lot of shows like that are only 10, 12 episodes. That really makes them, The Office obviously was like 22, but I don't know why they're just rewatchable in a way that the comedy is still funny. So when one ends, I'm still excited to watch the next one, whether it's a storyline continuing or whether I just want more laughter. Like in Always Sunny, I know I'm going to laugh incredibly hard. And in this show, it's like I would finish an episode and go, well, that was it for this week. I don't need another one for another week. Like I can burn up 22 minutes next week. I don't feel the need to jump into the next episode.
One thing
you forgot, if you need more laughter, laugh track.
Laughter.
The
Well, I
one
have
thing
my
I don't
own,
think
but
we
that's what I
talked
did is-
about was, this was a show, especially at NBC at the time, that they were using to bring you in to watch the commercials. I mean, this really
this
was
was NBC.
Yeah, this really
Yeah, that's
wasn't
right.
made to be a successful show per se. It was just there, like a lot of the TV shows, so they could advertise through. So people would come every week and do that. So we have 2 no's, I believe, on this episode. And I'm going to say, sadly, 3 no's. I still love all these characters, even though I hate them. I enjoyed seeing them all as young people and doing their thing, but it wasn't a good pilot, and I didn't enjoy it, and I don't recommend it. I say go
And out
watch
of the other shows,
Belvedere instead of this.
yeah. And out of the other shows that I have seen, there were 1 or 2 kind of interesting premise shows. But to be honest, in shows like this, you could take that and move it over to another show with other characters, and the situation would have played probably better. That's a lot of things about sitcoms is, you'll write a treatment, and if you end up moving over to another show, you can take that script with you if they didn't make it and retool it for the new characters and run that show. And that's sometimes why you'll see common plot points, even in same seasons across shows or a season apart, is, a writer pitched that idea, it didn't get picked up. And then a year later, 2 different people write that same premise because they moved on, or one stayed at the show and one moved on to something else. Same thing kind of like with movies, how you'll see 2 asteroid movies in the same year or something like that. And we're not talking about that company that rips off movies, by remaking them, like the Transfigurers or whatever. People just have an idea. They hear that it's floating around, another movie studio will go, ooh, you know what? Let's make our own version of that real fast, because let's get on that Armageddon hype and make Deep Impact, or something like that.
And everybody learns from the porn industry. They set the standard.
Yeah.
Now that we've come to the end of the episode, first of all, I want to say, Taylor, thank you very much for coming on the show again. We love having you on. You are our favorite guest. Just don't
Yes,
tell any of the other
absolutely.
guests. If somebody would like
You
to
guys are
find
okay.
you, thanks. I'll take it. 2.5. That's all I'm looking for. 2.5 out of 5. If anybody wants to find you on the World Wide Webbies, is there some place they can do that at?
I am on everything at Taylor Eat, EEP. So if you can think of it, just type that in and it'll probably pop up.
So
Send
go to
all your hate mail.
pornhub.com.
Yeah.
User. Yeah. Taylor
Yep,
Eat.
OnlyFans, it's a lot of feet pics.
Mini
So.
vids. Yeah.
Mhm.
Dancinghamster.com. You have your own
Mhm.
licensed dancing hamster. They are coming up with a
Thank you.
Funko Pop of you. Yeah.
Excellent. Dell, how about us? If the people want to write us hate mail because they love Friends and very mad at us after today's episode, where can they do that?
They can reach us all now through the website, pilotpasspod.com, which links to all of our social media, mainly Facebook, Twitter, and Instagrams, the gram, as the kids are calling it these days, and my grandmother. Let's see. She wants to be hip so bad. And there'll also be our email on there. Of course, you can message us through any of the apps, and we're likely to maybe see it and respond. We're not so great at that yet, but we're getting there.
50-50.
We're getting
There.
better. Yeah.
Or-
Also, make sure to check out on YouTube. Generally, just the audio is available, but as discussed before the show, we're going to start making the live feed available with a nice decoration around it and all pretty and everything. So it probably won't start with this episode, but in the future, we're going to be visually, you'll be able to see what we look like. Taylor, if in case this does make it on, can you do the face that upsets me so bad? Just real fast, because I love her.
Okay.
Taylor's great, and if anything ever happens to her husband, I'm swooping in, whether she wants it or not, like Ross. But she has this one thing she does, and if I could see it, I miss it. I haven't seen you since before COVID. When we used to all host show together in person. But whenever I get a little too fresh, Taylor reminds me she can do this. So can you do it for the people at home real fast?
The most unattractive face in the world.
Oh, I hate this so much.
Ready?
Yeah. God, I hate
Hi,
it.
Phil.
You go from being a cute,
Hi, Phil.
adorable, like pixie to being just
to look
a
at
background character in a Weird Al video. I hate it.
that's like the Ricky Gervais in the tub face.
Yeah.
Oh man, I hate that so much.
I've got nothing left to say. Taylor said all she needs to say. Dell, you said all you need to say about 20
I'm done.
minutes ago. Let's get out of here. Till next time.
Bye.
Bye.